Good evening, my name is David Okola. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you everybody for supporting my channel. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for clicking notification bell. Thank you for your support. And we have been talking about the cost of living, and we will continue to talk about it. Please watch the other videos which are connected to this, and we have been discussing this at a more comprehensive way. The reason I want to talk to you about the cost of living the way I'm talking, because I believe that if there is a problem which is important, as important as the cost of living, it is important also for people who are affected by the cost of living, such as those on low income in the country, like Britain, America, the developed world. I've been repeating these ideas because it is at the heart of the cost of living as a crisis. The cost of living may sound like a topic which people should know something about, and it is. It also means different things, different people. If you talk about the cost of living in the UK, even in Africa, you talk about food. How do you get food put on the table? How do you get electricity? How do you get money for transport? Especially if you are in Africa, if you are sick, what are you going to do? If you are in Africa, if you are in the village, in the middle of nowhere in Africa, where there is no ambulance, there is no healthcare service, which is a day-to-day problem, almost a crisis on a daily basis in Africa. But in Europe, because the infrastructure to provide public service for people who need support, these infrastructures are there. They are set by the government to support in a developed country where there is a lot of wealth. Development means wealth. It probably doesn't mean anything else. It only means there's a lot of wealth in a country. If we are saying a country is developed, it means it's a very wealthy country. Like America. America is the wealthiest country on earth. China is supposed to be the wealthiest also. Probably it is. The good thing probably with China is that the wealth is distributed fairly to people who work for a living, including people who do agriculture, who grow their own food in villages in China. But apart from the level of population in China, in India, and part of other world, or Africa has a lot of population. It's actually probably around 2 billion people in the world are actually in Africa. And most of the people in Africa are extremely poor. And one thing I have actually seen talking to people about poverty, when you talk to people and tell them, try to explain to them what poverty is, and also try to identify them as poor, people will tend to be resentful. They think they're insulting them. Even in Africa, doesn't matter how poor they are, because people actually take their dignity very seriously. You're not going to go around telling people how poor they are, how much they are suffering. They will think you're insulting them. And even if they actually face starvation, they may not accept your food. In places like Africa, they have their pride. And in Britain, in America, people have their pride. You go around telling people you are very poor, you need help from the government. And it is true, but we're humans. We have our dignities, we have our pride. And so when the cost of living crisis exposes the statuses of people in the society, it creates all sorts of crises, mental illness. There are people now around the world who are threatening to commit suicide, especially in the developed world. Because in the developed world, most people don't actually believe they are poor. They don't understand the definition of poverty. I have tried to use this program to define poverty, that people who work for a living are poor. In the sense that poverty means you are actually vulnerable to crisis. That's what it means. That's how I look at wealth. And wealth, if you are wealthy, it means you are not a vulnerable person. You see, you are multi-millionaire, you're a millionaire, but sometimes even if you get maybe 500,000 pounds or dollar per annum or euro, it means you're well off. You're a middle class person. Now, almost 30 to 40% nowadays, because the level of poverty, the level of concentrated poverty is more now at the lower end of the poverty scale. The lower class of people, there are more of the lower class of people around the world, especially the developed world. There are many middle class people who may be earning, if you're in Britain, probably you're earning 30,000 pounds. You are now classed as the middle class. If we are actually to realistically classify people accurately, if middle class means you earn at least a net earning of 30,000, then you can be classed as middle class. If you still earn less than 30,000 as a net, then you are not a working class because of the cost of living. You don't even need to mention the word crisis yet. Just the cost of living, you are already poor. But you are even poorer if you mention the cost of living crisis, which is one topic we are talking about. Because sometimes people confuse the cost of living, which is always there. It's a normal way of life. If you buy and sell, if there is an economy, then there is the cost of living. But if it is a crisis, then it is an emergency and people can die from it. It's like there's a war situation in a country, like COVID-19, like Brexit. These are crises. So the cost of living falls as a crisis within this description, and it is my task actually within this program to try and really explain to people, as I have to really say this over and over. People need to know their situation in terms of income, in terms of debt, in terms of financial capability. Can you do budgeting? Can you save your money? Are you able to save? Have you got saving? How much saving have you got into your bank account? It doesn't matter how much money you earn as an employee or self-employed. So if we did with self-employed, small and medium businesses for self-employment, these are actually middle class or even working class, lower class. Both are working class in my opinion. Even if you are actually working for yourself, you're a worker if you work for a living as of necessity. See, but because the rich people don't need to work. They are rich, they work for any reason they can work, but not to earn a living. Because they have enough money. And these are the people which form maybe 5 to 10%. They're getting less and less. We are getting less and less of this class of people. Because less people are actually having more money. The concentrating of wealth is going into the hands of the fewer and fewer members of our society. This is across the globe because the globe is practicing something called capitalism. Capitalism promotes marketization, the market economy. Market economy work to promote private businesses. There are two different types of businesses, public and private. There is something called, if you talk about the public sector, you're talking about organizations which are actually public. You're looking at statutory bodies like government departments, the local authorities and organizations such as those are all businesses. And they are also charitable organizations, they're voluntary organizations. Some of them are so big, they're called NGOs, non-governmental organizations or community-based organizations. Community-based organizations are small charitable organizations. There are charities and charitable organizations. In the UK, charities are registered with the Charity Commission. Charitable organizations are registered with Company House in the UK. And similar systems actually are replicated globally. This is because of globalization. Globalization promotes things done in one country to spread it all over the world. That's what globalization means. You take, for example, capitalism, which is a system of producing wealth in a country using private sector. The public sector comes as a default in any country, but these are actually by design. This default is by design because the original intent of an economic system in the modern sense, its origins, its genesis actually is capitalism. When you see the best way to deal with capitalism, okay, let's say for argument's sake, good and bad capitalism. Good capitalism creates wealth, but it creates wealth to help people and country. Bad capitalism only creates wealth for rich people. Poor people are actually neglected. This is actually, in essence, what makes capitalism evil. To make it good, capitalism should think of people first. That how many people are there in this country? What are their income? What kind of work do they do? Do they have storages in their homes? Do they actually homes? Are they homeless? Are they living on the streets? Are they living at home? What happens if they are sick? How about when they become old, elderly, when they're about to die? Because getting old means you are actually dying. That's why people who are elderly should be supported in a country under capitalism. Every country you go to, because capitalism was the primary system of creating wealth. It has always been like that from the beginning. It only evolved into what modern economy we now talk of as capitalism. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's an economy. The purpose of economy in the scientific sense of the word is to create wealth. Now, good economic system is there to manage wealth, create it, manage it, protect it, and also operate this wealth to create more wealth for health and welfare, for security, for other anything, for pleasure, for entertainment, for wellness. When you can choose what you eat, you can choose what you drink, you can choose how you use your wealth in the modern sense, including using technology. I'm going to use technology effectively. Things like artificial intelligence, things like artificial intelligence, 3D printers, nanotechnology. And the other one is robotics. These things, and IT, information technology, cybersecurity, all these elements are actually important functions, but wealth is extremely necessary because it improves the quality of life of people in a society. And good leaders are needed. And if you're a good leader, you're going to do the correct things because you focus on humanity. A good leader focuses on humanity, human need, human requirements, and you cannot abuse wealth in a country by hoarding wealth. You know, when you hoard wealth, it means you don't use the wealth for welfare purposes, for security purposes, for health purposes. You know, we need to understand these things in the basic sense. There is a sense that of if you are a human being living in the world, in the world, you have to have knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, you're going to be in serious trouble, especially now when we are in the knowledge economy. Do everything. I mean, you can play if you want. I mean, play is a need because you take time with your party, with friends, with family. If you want to have fun with strangers, that is your choice. But whether you're playing, whether you are praying, whether you are actually meditating, whether you're just sitting there and meditating, thinking about something, you know, using your head to think, analyze things, also read books, you know, watch television, educational program, entertainment program, watch YouTube. You know, in YouTube there are so many different things. If you like YouTube because of entertainment and you don't want to learn anything, that is your choice. But I would suggest to you that take time, take your life seriously. If you go out to have a party, you do it to the farthest. Do make party like there is no tomorrow. Once you're finished with party, if it is time for work like there is no tomorrow for work. Work as hard as possible. Play as hard as you can. If you're visiting people, you're giving gifts, be as generous as you can. If you're going to do charity, help people who cannot help themselves, the disabled, children, orphans, widows, women suffering from domestic violence, domestic abuse. These are actually vulnerable people in society. If you decide to help them, and I recommend you to help people who need help, do your best. You don't measure help. You help to the extent that there is need. The problem with help, the problem with work, the problem with health and wealth is that capitalism has become violent, has become very violent, and it is actually preventing the majority of the population in a country are being neglected by the government, private government and public government. Because of privatization, the government has been privatized more than the government being left in the public hands. So there is something called nationalization. Some people in this country, in America, in the Western world, in Europe, but even now in the Eastern Bloc, like China, Russia, everybody, because of globalization, is being privatized everywhere. Everybody is becoming a capitalist. A capitalist in the sense of neglecting, the welfare element of capitalism. So this is a bad type of capitalism. It should stop. It should actually be closed down. But the problem with closing down capitalism is that it's a system of our survival. We cannot destroy capitalism not least because it's the best way of creating wealth, and we need wealth. Okay? And because of our culture is failing, and that is a very complicated situation. Because you see, if the culture is not working, then capitalism is going to be toxic. It's going to be a source of violence. Capitalism is going to be a source of destruction. People are going to die because of capitalism. And our culture is there to direct our steps, to teach us good ideas, to guide us, to provide direction. The culture should have been the arbiter of the government should have been the arbiter of our culture. The role of the government should have been to teach us citizens. Our culture should have taught us, should actually teach us what to do, and that's the function of the government. The government should use our culture to provide that direction. Someone in Britain, like Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, should have it as its function to guide the country, tell the country what they should do. Now, because of political ideology, and because of political ideology which is also violent, which is corrupt, the Conservative Party of today are very corrupt. They are the most corrupt form of politics. The most corrupt form of politics comes from conservatism, including New Labour in the UK. Moderacy is less corrupt. Moderacy is actually applied by the government by investing in the public sector. If the government fails to invest in the public sector, then the capitalism becomes corrupt. It becomes violent. It becomes criminal, actually, because marketeers begin, if they are unregulated, they begin to behave like thieves, like murderers. They begin to behave like terrorists. And so the government, which says the market should not be regulated, is behaving like a terrorist, like a state terrorist. And this is if you're in government, wherever you are, whether you're in the UK or wherever you are in the world, if you don't control behaviors in the marketplace, you are a terrorist, knowingly or unknowingly. Okay? Because you terrorize society. You kill people, even by not knowing, by recklessness, or by intentionally. You make your choice, because people are actually dying. People are dying in the UK, people are dying in America. All over the world, people are committing suicide now because of the cost of living crisis. This is the truth. The government is ignoring this because the government's hands are tied. And it is their responsibility. If you have power in a country, if you are prime minister, it is your responsibility. Global governments possess a lot of power. They should use this power to serve the people of nations. Stop serving the few. Because everybody is human. We have the same status. We may not have money. We may not have power. That is the difference. But you see, a good person who has power, or a community of power brokers in the world, within the public and the private sector. If you are prime minister of the country, you are actually president of the country, a military commander of the country, police, prison commander. These societies of power brokers should be good people. But the way things are being conducted, my feeling is that we are having more nasty and nastier people in power. This is very dangerous. I mean, if you are a human being, your instinct is to actually preserve your life, because one thing awaits us, that is aging. Aging is a sure passport to death. All of us are going to die. Scientists have said we age by accident. We humans are not designed to age, which means there is hope. If the scientists are right, I don't have the information. You look for information on aging, you will find some research being done now. If you are resource, go to BBC News, a website, BBC website, because the program is on the website. Something called Click. He actually talks about new technology and things like that. So this program, I actually watch it on Click. So I haven't actually read about it. I heard it on the radio as well, BBC Radio 4. And I think I watched it on documentary television. That aging is not really natural. It is the body, the human actually creature, the body actually, the living body malfunctions. So in the process of malfunctioning, it creates aging. This is important information because we as humans, our life is meaningless if we just live, grow old and die. If you look at life in that sense, because we have to have hope. And we have hope because we know from information available that there is future for humanity. The other information I came across about human life is that our bodies, the physical body, is made of data, which means it doesn't die. The body may die, but the information doesn't. If we find technology to recover our data in the future, people can, the physical body can be regenerated. Through all we have to do is retrieve our data and then regenerate the body. If you look at science fiction, or certain movies, fictional movies about technology, science, regenerative health, biotech, biotechnology-based movies. If you look at these things, there are more and more indications that there is a possibility of regenerative health, regenerative technology, where the body actually is regenerated. If you look in nature, that happens with certain kind of lizards. There are certain lizards which grows tail. If you cut off part of its body, it grows, it regenerates. So researchers are now looking at those creatures to find out how their bodies are regenerated and hopefully maybe apply the same principle on humanity. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's the only thing. If the body can regenerate, if somebody shoots you with a gun, your body will regenerate within seconds. You don't die. People don't die of accident. For example, people begin to live forever. If you can stop aging, reverse aging, or even bring back life, recongregate the information, the data, collect the data and formulate them into bodies. If I don't talk like this, some people think, this is fiction. Yes, it is. But it is also scientific. In terms of research, in terms of investigation, there are clues now available, which actually the researchers are working on. I don't have the details, so you're not going to learn about it on this video. If you're interested in that kind of thing, I'm talking about hope. Because you see, if we live our life, some people now live like wild animals because they don't care about anything. If we stop caring as a society, then we stop being human. And right now, you look at young people, old people, even elderly, people don't care anymore. Some people don't care. Probably more and more people don't care about different things. They just focus on money and what they should do with their money. You can get food, you can get housing, you can get transport, you can go on holiday, you can buy a nice car, a nice watch. We are focused on wealth, which is a good thing. But life is more than wealth. Life is more than material things. It's easy to say this, but the reality is that because we don't see meaning in life more beyond what our day-to-day experiences. But once we attach value to our life in terms of the future, then we begin to live in hope. We develop a sense of patience because we have the time. Now everybody is, the more knowledge increases about our destinies, about our life as humans. In the past, we didn't have much information about biology, about the future. People used to believe in God. People used to believe in supernatural powers. Some people still do, but more and more people have stopped because a lot of this thing doesn't make sense. We have become scientists. And there was a time I went to see my doctor about my medical condition. He said, if you suffer a medical condition, become an expert on it. So he gave me a couple of links to access information on my health condition. Since then, I've been an advocate of becoming an expert. If you have a sickness, if you have a mental illness, if you have a physical illness, if you suffer from financial lack, become an expert on money. If you are impacted by the cost of living crisis, become an expert on the cost of living crisis. The same with COVID-19, the war in Ukraine. If you are from Ukraine, become an expert on the war in Ukraine. What causes the war in your country? But even if you are not from Ukraine, because the globe to a large extent rely on Russian oil. When Russia refuses to supply, or if there is sanction because of war in Ukraine, if European countries actually apply sanction, then it actually disrupts the supply of energy, fuel and things like that. That's how the current cost of living was actually worsened to become a serious crisis, because it came immediately after COVID-19, after Brexit. Remember, I talked about capitalism. Right now I'm talking about the financial crisis in America in 2008, between 2007 and 2008. And like I said, this is a continuation of a video I recorded previously. If you watch this video, watch it in conjunction with the other video. Because when I talk about a video like this, and people haven't seen the other video, it sounds like I'm actually talking from out of the blue. I'm actually trying to illustrate the point that the financial crisis in America is in part responsible for the current cost of living and all the other crises which have been happening from decades and decades, because it carries forward. In other words, going forward now, there are going to be more and more crises, because every time there's a crisis, we don't necessarily deal with it in terms of when they cause poverty and other crises like health crisis, and this is also part of there are other. Directly or indirectly, these are incidental of the way we run our societies. This crisis, and sometimes if you ask yourself why are people fighting, the answer is actually we are culturally malfunctioning. We are poorly educated. We do not know how to make peace. Why should Russia fight Ukraine? You ask the Russians, ask Putin. These people are behaving like children, and they have the kind of power they have is so dangerous. To have, to put so much power in the hand of children, it's a very deadly thing. And that's why people have been dying. The Second World War, the First World War. Before the First and Second World War, there were wars. Society have been about war. Nothing else really. The problem we face because of warfare, there are actually rumors going around now that the government is actually the government of the world, the global government, are now weaponizing the weather. They are weaponizing climate. These are actually conspiracy theories. They are rumors because we don't know what the government does. It's a case of us trusting our governments. If we don't trust our governments, we begin to question conspiracy theories, if they are actually theories. Because trust is important. And if we see that the government now failed to provide healthcare in a country like Britain, you wait for years and years for an operation. The waiting time in the hospital is insane. And even if you get appointment, you don't seem to get the right help, because every medical center, every medical institution is now prioritizing. The priority for them now is money. Everybody is talking about money, the cost of something, the cost of medicine, the cost of running hospital. Anything which doesn't make money is not valued. So people who have money are the ones now being valued as patients. This is a type of cultural failure. It's the product of cultural failure, because the human life cannot be measured in terms of wealth, the wealth they have in their pocket. See, the world we live in is supposed to provide medicine. There's something called herbs. You know, when you go into the bush to get trees, to get grass or vegetation, herbs, they're called herbs. These herbs are medicine, natural medicine. Before modern scientifically based medical system, people used to know what herbs to use to heal them. And people probably were more healthy, I don't know. I think the greatest source of health is actually peace, living peacefully. If you don't fight, imagine people are fighting every day. In an area or in a family, every day people are fighting very seriously, and the police are not helping because the police are closing down. And I think in the future, the police, if you don't have money, you're not going to use the emergency service, ambulance, police, fire, and the military. The military are all going to be privatized. You get the private police, private army, private navy, private pilots, I don't know, a private what do you call it? Air Force. Private Air Force. In other words, you're going to get private militarism in the future. It's not happening. Mercenaries, private securities. It's now happening. You know, the police. If I'm right, some section of police service, you can pay privately to get some police service. And fire, some fire services are now paid for. Ambulances will be paid for. Yeah, because all these services are being privatized. Privatization means they are going to be owned privately. And private companies don't give their services for free. They can give it for free if the government funds it. The reason the government is privatizing public service because the government is trying to shut down the public sector. That also means if you don't have money, you're on your own. The government is no longer helping you. That's why also it is almost impossible now to get help wherever help is. When I started this program, I actually started by telling people where help is in the UK and also around the world. Around the world, go to your government website and look for help. If it is not there, go to your member of parliament, because there are members of parliament all over the world. Even if you live in a country where there is no parliament, there is no members of parliament, then I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe talk to your local leader. If they are there, they may not be called members of parliament because parliament may not be existing in your country. But most countries have parliament. with members of parliament. In short, they call themselves MPs. Most people know, if you say an MP, they know what it is in the modern world. Only a few who might not understand, I don't know, maybe certain languages, maybe you call it differently. If you understand English, because I'm speaking in English, then you know an MP, member of parliament, who they are. Go and talk to them, and when you talk to them, let them ask them for help. So you want help, government help, to know about government help, whether the government are giving you money, especially in Africa. If you're in Africa, go to your member of parliament and ask for help. Say you want money from the government, you want food from the government, you want energy, electricity. Most African countries use electricity because I think because of safety, and also more and more Africans are using gas. I think gas in Africa is more expensive. Africa right now shouldn't be lacking electricity because of sunshine. Africa receives more sunshine than in any other country because it's a tropical region. It's a tropical region. I know some parts of Africa is cold, especially at night, but that doesn't really make much difference because you can build solar panel. The government, African government, every African government can build solar panels in every village, in every home, if it is funded. Those who are trying to fund Africa, like IMF, the World Bank, if you are really serious about helping Africa, you can help Africa to eradicate food and fuel poverty within a year. The amount of wealth in the world is amazing. I mean, if you are in Europe, if you are in America, you are in China. China is the second biggest economy in the world. There is a lot of wealth in India. There is a lot of wealth in Africa. African governments singularly could create a market in Africa to sell and buy, set up business system institution in Africa. Operating markets in Africa to build it. I don't see why African government cannot really develop African markets for African goods and services, for to support African businesses, to support small and medium businesses in Africa, big businesses. The culture in Africa, the government, every government, if there is a government in Africa which is able to repair or even promote good culture, then with good culture they can produce good governance. The law can help, policies can help, but even in the West, anywhere in the world, the best instrument of change actually culture. Culture simply means education, and that is a major source of hope because we as humans can learn. We can learn new things. We can be teachers. We can be students. You teach like I am teaching now. I'm also a student. I'm learning from this video. The very video I'm actually posting. I'm learning from it, and it has been teaching me many things every day. There are people who appreciate it, and you are the reason I'm actually making this video. So subscribe to this channel to support it. If you don't value it, I'm also making the video for you. Maybe you will change your mind, or you will discover some value. There is nothing anybody does which doesn't have value. This video has value. In life, you need to work hard in order to succeed. If you cannot even sit and watch a video which is valuable, which is teaching me, which I believe should also teach you important things like cultural economy, learning respect, so that we can achieve peace in the world, so that with peace we can improve our healthcare system, we can improve our educational system so that we live healthier and happier. Because you see, if you suffer from stress and you're sad, your life is worth less and less. Because you only live once. I have already said that there is hope about our life. The point where I believe scientists will one day in the future bring back the dead from the dead. They will bring the dead back to life. I've said this before in the other videos. It may sound as if it is something ridiculous, it will be something very useless, but it is very, very useful. You may like the video or not, but click like, share the video, support it, take it seriously, take your life seriously. I know you're trying to go to work, you're trying to do your own thing, but social media is here to stay. Take advantage of it. If you don't like my video, create your own channel and talk to yourself. Do what you like. I mean, some people like to look at nature, maybe they like traveling. Go and watch YouTube for travel, but do what you can. Life, I spend more time watching other YouTube channels than mine. When I finish recording my channel, I watch it to see, because I want to listen to what I say. I'm not editing anything at the moment, but in the future I will start editing it so that it becomes more usable. But for now, do your best and watch it as much as you can. Subscribe to the channel to support it, and say what you like to say. If you say a nice thing, then I'm happy. But be respectful. If you're disrespectful, then probably I will exclude you from my channel. Doesn't matter where you are, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Be respectful, because part of the thinking surrounding this video is to have respect for yourself. I mean, if I become disrespectful within the YouTube community, as a content creator, I'm going to be removed. YouTube will remove me, and anybody who misbehaves within the YouTube community, they will be removed. So that is the rule. But I'm talking about the rule also in this video, in order to put our lives in order, so that, because we have to take responsibility for our lives. You can sit there and wait for the government or your family or your friends. Let me tell you something about your family and your friend. If you are facing hardship, if you become sick, if you lose your job, if you lose your home, they're going to run away from you. They are now your friends. They accept you as family. They treat you respectfully because you work. You're earning a living. You are able to pay your rent. You buy your own food. If you're sick, you have money for medicine. You go out in a bar, in a restaurant, you go in a nightclub, you have money. As soon as you stop having money to try to depend on your family and friends, they're going to reject you. They're going to go away. They will behave as if they will have no respect for you whatsoever. That is life. Everybody is like that. I am like that. You are watching this, you are like that. I may live in denial that, I don't treat people like that. You may be the first to say, no, I will never do that to my family. I will never do that to my friend. But that is the truth. Sit and think. If you have never been unemployed, you have never been sick. I mean, if you become sick, or if somebody dies in your life, maybe your wife dies, or your child dies, your brother or your sister dies, and people think you're poor, you may not actually see a single person in your home. People may not come even for a funeral. If you are somebody people know, if you are important, if you are rich, if you are famous, everybody will want to come to a funeral. in your home, for a wedding in your home. But normally, if you tell people you are wedding, most likely people, you're going to get a lot of people coming. So if you're doing well in life, people like you. If you are on the street, you are dirty, and you're stretching out your arm, begging for somebody on the street, begging for food, begging for money. People don't talk to them. People actually fear them, even think they're going to rob you. They look like they're so neglected. You see, people get scared. Or if you're so sick in the hospital, people are so afraid to associate with you, as if your sickness is going to catch them. Your poverty is going to catch them. You're going to create problems for them. You're going to create responsibility for them. And the government, such as the government in the UK, the government in the Western world, the government in Africa, are now saying, take responsibility for your life. The government is also rejecting you. For political reasons, they are being polite because, politicians are diplomats. They play diplomacy. They don't want to tell you. They want to be nice to you because you elect them. They are like business people. If you go to a shop, even if a shopkeeper, you come into a shop, a shopkeeper wishes you should leave the shop as soon as possible. They just don't like your sight for whatever reason. Maybe you are poorly dressed, maybe you are the wrong color, maybe you are black if you are in a white country, or you are white in a black country, or you are too tall, or you are too short, or maybe you're wearing the wrong kind of. People just like you, or they don't. If you go into a shop, somebody's going to like you, or they're going to really dislike you. But if you're selling products because you're there you want customers, you will tolerate people you otherwise will kick out of your politicians are like that. Shopkeepers operate something called customer service. They can smile with you. You think they are your best friend, but they are so disgusted to see you. Politicians are like that. Professionals are like that. They're trained to be, to provide customer service, public relationship. They're trained to be diplomats, representative of. They provide a good face. The window dress situations, go into office. Member of staff, professionals are trained to smile and speak to you, even if they are on the phone. Hello, hi, how can I help you? They are actually smiling because they're trained to smile, because somebody at the other end of the telephone conversation will know. Somehow they will detect that you are smiling. It's going to put them at ease. Smiling is a form of communication skills, and professionals are trained to do that. And politicians are actually customer servants. They make you feel happy. They're persuasive. They want you to vote for them. They actually maintain stability, political stability in a country. And they are very valuable. But you should not be ignorant of the real world, away from diplomacy. And there comes a point when you have to be realistic. When the government says they're not going to be responsible for your life, take it seriously. Begin to change the way you think. This is also a cultural system, changing the way you think. Whereas in the past you were thinking the government will look after me. Now start thinking I will look after myself. The government will support me as much as they can. And they keep saying this to us because we are in the Western world, especially we are the welfare state for so long, and the welfare state was said to mitigate the impact of capitalism. And like I said, employment, for example, employment is a form of welfare system. because the government set policy to support small and medium businesses and also big businesses so that they can support employment. But now, because of technology, because of many changes, things are now changing where you go to the supermarket, you go to public transport or private transport, like you go to airlines, trains, you go to ship or boats. These are now, in the short future, maybe between 10 and 20 years, most of them are going to be autonomous vehicles because of artificial intelligence. People like Elon Musk, Tesla, Jeff Bezos, and all these other billionaires and multimillionaires are investing in technology. So there will be changes in the military system. There, human-based militarism is going to change. Is going to stop, taken over by machine. If you watch a movie called I, Robot by Will Smith and other people, that is typically what is going to happen with artificial technology. They're going to build robots and vehicles. There are now like drones. Drones are actually an example of autonomous vehicles. They are still operated by remote system, but in the future, drones will actually drive autonomously. They don't need human operator. You just program it and release it. It just does its things, reconnaissance, take photographs, transport, do deliveries from, for supermarkets, or even just transport people from countries to countries. I mean, as technology grows, you're going to have an equivalent of drone in the form of big airplane, taking maybe 200, 300, 400, 500 passengers, driving itself. Such airplanes are now there, but they are actually assisted by manual drivers. More and more, you're going to get technologies like that in transportation, in medicine, in government. It's not happening, but it's happening gradually. So there are going to be less employment and more machines doing different things, which is good because it's going to improve the standard of living. And with capitalism is going to work to generate wealth. Wealth, when the machine is actually, if the machine actually matures, if it become, it's working absolutely and efficiently, it can produce goods and services now at no extra cost, which means selling and buying will stop. You order your things, whatever you need, however you need it. But you see, we need to use technology for peaceful purposes other than for war. If we use technology for war, we are going to go extinct. Because some of these technologies are going to be very powerful and they are going to be having artificial intelligence are going to be self-learning. They are going to learn things you didn't program them to learn, to know. So they will be learning independently if we create such features. We now watch them on science fiction movies. But I believe these things are going to be created going forward. And when they are created, what we are going to see, if we continue to be violent, this thing can start watching television and learning from television and start behaving funny. If they start fighting each other, you come from, because you won't be working, they will be doing all the work. You come from relaxing, because people will be just relaxing. The machine will do all the work. People will be doing workout. You go for a walk, maybe from 100 years from now, 200 years. But it's beginning to happen now. We are doing less and less and less work, especially physical work, because the computer is doing everything, almost everything in the hospital. That's why there are a lot of crises because the rate of change is happening very quickly, especially technological, scientific changes, like industrial changes, are happening very quickly. And this actually will be creating a lot of crises. There are also problems to do with the environment. The weather is going to be a major problem. So I'm mentioning these things so that we can focus on the cost of living only, but the cost of living is a symptom of the wider issues happening in society, and this is the purpose of this video. And I've been looking at different functions of society, been looking at the events involving the financial crisis in the USA, how the government responded, and the subsequent economic recovery. The economy recovered because there were austerity period where the government said they're going to cut costs, and they did. But when they cut costs, it means they also are giving money, a lot of money to the super rich. And this is a problem for me and for everyone, because the few get richer during a crisis and the cost of living. The poorer get poorer because in the process, government stopped helping people who need help, people who are actually poor. Instead, it gives help to rich people. It's like the more money you have in a crisis, you get more money. And you could be forgiven to think rich people actually create crisis deliberately to get richer. The best way to get rich very quickly is to create a crisis. Because every crisis, COVID-19, Brexit, the war in Ukraine, the cost of living crisis, the financial crisis of 2008, rich people got richer very quickly, almost overnight. It's like harvest period. It's like, every time you want an harvest, create a crisis, a global crisis. And during the World Wars, the First World War, 1914, 1918, I think. And then that was the First World War, and then I don't know when it started, but it stopped, I think, in 1945, the Second World War. A lot of people got a lot of money from war. You see, from every crisis, some group of people get super, super, super rich. And that's just happened recently. With the cost of living, the UK government gave billions of pounds to energy company, but before even the UK gave more money to them, they already made a lot of money because the cost of energy had gone up, and they made a bonanza. They got so much money. They said it. I didn't say it. They said it publicly that we made so much money, we don't even know what to use the money for. So they are so bold because they know nobody can do anything to them. They are superhuman. They are superhumanly powerful. They control the government, the market, the market controllers, people who are super rich, who invest in the economy. They are the one who now tells the government what to do. The market leaders, the market emperors. They are the true rulers of the world because of the amount of wealth they control. People like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Richard Branson, who owns Virgin. It's Lord Sugar from Apprenticeship UK. People like that, people like Jay-Z and Beyonce, people like Rihanna, people like Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are worth in total about $100 million US. So they are super rich. Either they are good people or they are bad, but that's not what I'm talking about. All I'm saying is that rich people are normal people apart from their wealth. And normal people are actually people who are still developing to become proper adults. Because of our culture, the way our culture is developing, we are not matured enough as humans. We still fight. People like, Putin, Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, people like George W. Bush of America, Barack Obama of America, we still go to fight in the Middle East. People like Assad of Syria, you know, events such as happening now in Niger, in Africa, Rwanda, Uganda, you know the massacres in Kenya, all these problems, if you look at them around the world, you discover that we as people are still children. Because children are the ones who are supposed to fight senselessly. I mean, if you are supposed to survive as human beings, to address different types of sicknesses, cancer, even aging, I was talking about aging. If we are to address it, how can we be fighting all the time? Financial crisis was created deliberately because of corruption and negligence. Because the financial crisis in America, because the government somehow failed to provide public housing to people who need housing. So he decided to be cunning, and the government decided some cunning way of operating. He decided to use the financial system, private system of the state, to provide public housing. I mean, it's not the responsibility of the private sector to provide public services. And this is a mistake now being promoted globally by a method or a means called privatization, by political rhetoric and faulty ideology. They create a lot of problems within the economy, and in the process, they gave billions and trillions of government money to private individuals and groups. And it is very, sometimes it's just common sense, really, to see that there is some form of conspiracy going on with the government to create crisis deliberately, so that they give money to family and friends in high offices. I'm running out of battery. Thank God. I'm actually going to stop this video because I've run out of video, and I've realized also the video is very long. Subscribe to this channel, and the next one we're going to continue to talk about the financial crisis. But every time I start a new video, I try really to apply logic to what I'm trying to do, and next time we're going to probably concentrate more exclusively on financial crisis. But there is no point talk about an event about 10-15 years ago while trying to relate it to the cost of living without really explaining the logic. Because I want people to really understand how these things are connected. It's more important to me to talk a lot more about the connectedness, because it helps people to explain to themselves. Because now you're supposed to be independent of your life. You cannot depend on the state anymore, because the system is changing. It has changed significantly. That's why there is the crisis, the cost of living crisis is now out of control. A lot of people are suffering because the government has failed to provide help, because most of the infrastructure of the public sector is closed down, and the government will never open it. So try to start forgetting about public service right now. The government is not trying to explain to people why they close down the public sector, but they cannot do that because they don't know what people. They personally, I think the government is trying to buy time before breaking the news that but they have been telling us in different ways, except they tell us in really complicated ways, and while buying time to see how best to help, because the government somehow decided they can help people through private sector, and I say the government cannot help people through the private sector, because the government is not a private sector. The government is a public sector. So if the government closes down which it has done, having closed down the public sector, then we have to think of other ways of helping ourselves, because nobody is going to help. The government is not going to help us without public sector. And I want people to get this into their head. It's a political education. It's also a welfare education. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below. Hit a notification bell and share with family and friends. Thank you. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.